guys, my name is Jo and I'm the CEO of NaviStar Legal, and today I have Rafael Dos Santos. Welcome, Rafael.
Thank you.
Rafael is the founder and CEO of High Profile Club, as you can see from his background.
Yes.
Really great branding there, loving it. He's also a multi-award winner, and he's listed as, and he's considered to be the king of peacocks. I'll ask you about that in a minute. Welcome, thank you so much for joining us. Can you give me a little bit about your background? Tell me a little bit about what's brought you to the High Profile Club. Tell me about your entrepreneurial journey.
Before I go into my entrepreneurial journey, I just want to say the Zoom backgrounds, it makes my teeth look like one of that guy from a film. Look. So it's not that I have funny teeth, just making that clear. And because I'm going to laugh a lot, normally I lie, so if people look, it's just the white of my teeth goes funny with the white background. So it's not that I have white teeth, just making that very clear. Okay, so a little bit about my background. I'm Brazilian, moved to the UK almost 18 years ago. I left my job at Microsoft in Brazil to move here, and then became a kitchen porter because I couldn't speak English and nobody would give me a job. So I know what it's like to start from zero, and one of the reasons now why I help migrants become entrepreneurs is that. So I managed to improve my lifestyle and grow my network of friends after I learned to speak English, communicate with people. So that's a little bit of the background there. Did lots of jobs, from kitchen porter to cleaning, to leafleting on the street, to then being one of those people that stop you in Selfridges to spray perfume and say, would you like to try? And then even given grapes and chocolates as samples in Tesco and Morrison. So I've done all that.
I think we met, I don't know whether we met at the Institute of Directors or whether that's kind of, there was a connection, but you actually had set up a club at that point. Tell me about that, yeah.
Sure. So I then, back in 2017, end of 2017, I created a High Profile Club. It was on the back of, I was finishing my MBA at Henley. And then we had a weekend that if money wasn't an issue, what would you do with your life? And then I realized that media was something that I absolutely loved. So I decided to create a PR club, and it's called High Profile. And I was a member of the Institute of Directors at the time. I started running my events there. And the idea of the club is to bring owls to become peacocks. So what does that mean? So I compare entrepreneurs to owls who are high skilled, very intelligent, but really hard to find. You don't see owls everywhere. So what I do then is I help entrepreneurs going through a journey where they have to start exposing themselves in a nice way, obviously. So the idea of peacocks is that peacocks is all about visibility, is all about pride. They're very proud of themselves. So that's what I help entrepreneurs then to turn their expertise. So they start learning how to structure what they know into content. So how do you turn your expertise into a blog post? How do you share that with a journalist? How do you answer to a journalist in 100 words, 200 words, 500 words? Because a lot of people are experts. Some people make shoes, some people make cakes, some people make websites. But then if I put them in contact with a journalist and the journalist says, tell me in 100 words, what is the trend of websites for 2020? And then people can freeze because they've never done that before. And one thing that I feel, I'm very self-aware, and I think everybody should be, doing lots of those Myers-Briggs tests, personality tests. And I know that I'm very good at communicating. So how could I bring that to work? So it's something that I'm very good at. And how can I educate others on also bringing that to life? So also sharing their expertise. And the more you share, the more visible you become. And visibility is one thing. And then once you are visible, how do you become more credible? And by becoming more credible is by introducing you to journalists that will then use your expertise and mention you in the media. So that's the whole journey of how you turn owls into peacocks. And then we have a WhatsApp group with my clients, and every time they see a peacock, they send me a picture, they send, a feather. For my birthday, I had cufflinks with peacock feathers. I had a bow tie with peacock feathers. All my birthday cards were with peacocks. So that's the joke there about, you know, the king of peacocks.
So how content is like, I mean, this is something I've heard since I started set up, like content, you've got to create content. This is what you've got to do and get the content out there, which sounds really simple. It's a simple process, right? What is it that people do wrong? What are we not doing if we're not being visible? What are the problems there?
Yeah. So it depends on the kind of content. So let's talk a little bit about, because there are three types, obviously. That is long content, which is written content like text. So we are talking about blog posts, articles for the media, guest articles, interviews. The problem with writing content is that people overthink. That is the biggest problem. And they think, oh, for me to create content, it's going to take me 3-4 hours and I have to. And we normally try to impress when you're writing. So the way you speak is normally not the way they write. And because you try to impress, you're choosing words. And then normally what happens is it becomes a little bit boring. Because you're trying to impress so much, when you don't do that when you meet someone. When you meet someone, is hi, how are you? And then you talk. And normally, if you know how to do a small talk, you kind of try to find something middle ground or something that you both like, right? I normally ask where you're from, where you've been, and have you been to Brazil? So that's kind of, you know, is the icebreaker. And that's why when I write, I also write that because I'm Brazilian. So you know, what I don't try is to impress too much. And this is what I always tell people. Don't try to impress. Don't use difficult words. And the rule number 2 is don't make me look stupid. Because if you start as a user, if you try writing in a way that your words are pompous or difficult, or you come across as a snob, you will lose a lot of people, unless obviously if that is your target audience and if, you know, the people that you write into. But the majority of people, what they want is very simple language and they want something fun. That's the rule number 3 there. Make people, you know, either you write something about yourself that is funny, or you know, you make, I'm not saying make comedy, but if you make a light-hearted, fun reading, people will come back. And then the more they come back to you, the more you're gaining the trust, the easier will be for that person to make the decision, do I want to work with this person? Because if you can put your personality across in writing, then it will be, you know, it's much more engaging because you can describe more. So that's one type of content, text. And then it comes to video. The biggest problem with video is that people are so, they have so many self-criticism, and then they don't do it. Oh, I don't do video because my nose is too big, my ears too big, my lip, I'm too fat now. And now, especially now, I can't do Botox. I normally do Botox, and I can't do Botox at the moment. And it's like, oh my God, I'm not gonna do videos because I'm gonna be too wrinkly. Reality is, nobody's gonna be looking at the problem that you are looking, right? So I remember, I don't know if you don't mind me saying, because I remember you didn't have hair at some point, and I remember you did videos without hair. And I thought, this is amazing, because I know that you had all those monsters going in your head, because we all do. We all have, you know, we look at the camera and we think, oh, you know, do I look good? Do I not look good? You know, I don't have hair. I look so much better with hair. So all this, I know that goes through, you know, it might not be going through your mind. I'm just maybe making an assumption here. But because I've worked with so many people creating videos before, I know what goes through people's minds, right? Am I looking too fat? Am I looking too wrinkly? You know, oh, I don't like myself. Like I'm funny. I don't take pictures with glasses on, right? Even though I've done a million videos and I tell people what to do, I still don't like, it's like I take, when I go to a photo and I take my glasses off. So because I put myself in other people's shoes, I know exactly how it works. And reality is, people are gonna be watching me now. And I know, for example, I'm very funny, and I know, you know, I have my little voices as well. When I speak, my mouth drops a bit sometimes. It really annoys me. But if I didn't point this out, no one is going to be paying attention. I know you're laughing because when you watch this video, you're going to be looking. You're going to be, but I don't. So now what I do is when I record a video, I pay attention to the content. Does it sound okay? Does it sound funny? Because I like fun, for me is very important. and is high energy. For me, is video has to be high energy, because if I speak like this and if I'm giving an interview like that, people will never watch me again. Because if I'm monotone and if I don't bring my energy, this is not me. You can see the difference before and after. So for me, it's all about that. And I watch my video, I pay attention to the content, boom, is going online, I don't watch it anymore. Because the more you watch, the more you're going to criticize. Oh my God, I don't believe. Oh, like before, for example, I had to do coaching. I sounded too gay. And because I thought, well, I am gay, there is nothing I can do. And if you don't like me because I sound too gay, stop the video. I'm not going to stop creating videos because you think that I sound too gay. That is your problem, not mine. So I stopped that. And the more you get over those fears, the more you get over those self-criticism, the more you publish. And the more you publish, the more you're going to attract people that like you. And if people like you, they buy from you. Yeah. And obviously, you cannot be fake. You're not doing it, so don't try to copy me. I'm high energy, I'm fun, and I speak sometimes. My sister was, I'll give a very good example. My sister once gave me for Christmas, you know, those old, when my mother, maybe my grandmother, to make coffee, had that filter, cotton filter that was like a sock, right? So my sister gave me one for Christmas because she said, you need some filters. You know, you say things that you shouldn't. So it was very funny. So she gave me one. And I kind of, it's the positive and negative, isn't it? It's good because I say what I want, but sometimes I can offend. I think that's the problem with the filter. But the key thing is, it's authentic. I'm not faking it. The way that I'm speaking to you now is being recorded is how I'm going to be on stage. It's how, if you meet me at the Institute of Directors, that's how I'm going to speak. And I'm going to say, oh my God, this is good. Like the girls that work with me, I always tell them, it's very funny. They send me photos sometimes to say, do you think this is going to look for the event? So they, you know, even their outfits, because they know I'm going to say, yeah, this is great. And I'll say, no, this looks cheap, or, you know, you're going to look like maybe you don't want to look like one. So it's kind of it's being authentic, it's being honest. And this is the personality. And if some people don't like dealing with this, that's their problem. And that means that they shouldn't be my client, because if you are going to work with me, you need to know that this is what you're going to get. I think what you did, that is not cool. Maybe you should be doing that. I think you look great, but it's all very authentic and very real. And I think if you are creating content, number one is you need to have a very thick skin, because people will criticize and they will say, oh, this doesn't look good. But normally the criticism comes from those that are not doing. So that's one thing for you to take.
Like people in the arena. If you're in the arena and you're creating content, you can criticize, but if you're not, you can't.
Yeah. Because I know that you create a lot of content, and I see your videos, and I see your and I think it's great. I thought, my God, she's an amazing marketeer. So I always thought, like, you should create a marketing agency for lawyers. Huh?
It's hilarious that you say I'm an amazing marketeer, because if anything, that is the worst thing I am. But I do enjoy creating content. But enjoyment comes from doing it, doesn't it? Like, do you find that people that you're dealing with and in your high profile club, do you find that they're saying, I don't want to do it? They people like, I don't want to do it. And then when they kind of start and they find their own flow, suddenly you're like, oh, okay, that type of content I can create.
Yeah.
I cannot write a good article to save my life. I have to ask somebody else. I can write it, but I have to get somebody else to look it over, because I go into the in-depth and
I see.
Forte, but give me a video and I won't go into the details. So it really comes down to the type that the type of content that works for you. I think that comes down to authenticity, right?
But exactly, and I think it's important, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, and as I said, it needs to be something that, one, you feel comfortable with, and it depends on your audience. Like if you're talking about law, obviously you have to be very careful in what you say, because people are going to be reading that and might be following your advice. Obviously it's down to them if they're taking action or whatever they're doing. But because as a lawyer, then you need to be careful in what you say, because you really needs to go with what the government is saying or what the law says. Slightly different. Now, what I the way that I do content is, okay, so this is why you do, this is how you do it. As I mentioned before, it needs to be fun, it needs to be authentic. It doesn't mean that you have to create it this way. What I'm saying is, this is the formula that works for me, and this is the formula that some people that have followed my advice, they've done their own tone of voice, and it worked for them. So you must try. And it's just like any business. When you launch your first business and you think, oh, this is what I'm going to do. And as soon as you launch and then people start asking questions, you actually say, actually, maybe I should do the other way. And then you start tweaking your business because you get feedback from people, and content is exactly the same. So you start launching, like, for example, I was writing, I publish at least 4 blogs a week on High Profile Club, right? So that, but I have a team. So I coach the team. We have weekly meetings that say, this is what we're going to be writing now. This is, this is the tone of voice that is needed. So they write, and then we get together, it gets edited, and then it gets published. And I understand what people are looking for. So I provide content based on searches that people are doing. It's not just out of thin air that I think, okay, this is what we're going to be writing now. And one thing that I'm now observing is that, so we write of a minimum of 1,500 words. That takes it could be between 5 and 8 minutes to read. But as I analyze the data, people are not staying all the time to read that. So which means that my articles are too long. Therefore, I'm now making it shorter. So I'm going to try to do 1,000 words. So it's all a matter of launch, analyze, see what the data is telling you, and then being able to adapt. Because if I keep posting content like blog posts that are 1,500 words long, but people are only reading half of it, I'm wasting my time. So I'm going to half the post to get people to read the whole thing. So it's, yeah.
You said that there were 3 types of content. One is the articles, the other is the videos, and then?
And the third one is the short posts. So yeah, so you have 3 where one is about blog posts and magazines and articles, which is very long. I would say, well, long, it could be from 500 words to 2,000 words, depending on your audience. Then you have your videos, and video has to be so short because attention span, is about, like on Instagram, is 1 minute. So what I do is I create some video animations as well, where I put with the post. So it's a very short summary of what the blog post is all about. I do webinars on my group, so High Profile Club group, because we have the page and we have the group. So the page, the group was where everybody, the community group on Facebook, is where people can post and they ask comments and all that. So I do then 30-minute webinars with my clients. So it's longer content people can consume and they can ask questions. So it's slightly different. So all kinds of content depends on where you're posting, what you're going to get from it. If you just want to get people's attention to show that you know that. So 1-minute videos is great. And the third one is your short posts on social media. So these are 100 to 200 words, and you can break down. I always say use emojis because emojis show emotion. People love using that, okay? Even if you're a lawyer, you could be adding that to your posts, okay? Emojis really bring emotion, and because it's social media, even on LinkedIn, people still want emotion. They still want, to know who you are, because especially if you are selling to small business owners who are entrepreneurs, and it's all about, do I like this person? Do I want to buy from them? When is a brand like Google or Apple, there is no one behind it. You buy because it's the brand, it's because the product works, and because they have millions and millions to brainwash you, to let you know that you can trust them. Now, with small business owners, it's very different because you are buying from the person, not from the brand. Yeah. And that's why your personality is very important. So your tone of voice is important, the type of video that you are doing, and your personality will attract the kind of customer that will work well with you. So it's very important. So when you do your short posts, you use your images and your 50 words, 100 words, or 200 words to describe your knowledge in that post. it's important for you to keep the consistency. For me, I always use emojis, I always use fun, I always, I make reference for being Brazilian, being flamboyant, lots of feathers. So it's part of who I am, therefore it will be part of my business. The whole thing about the peacock, it came because I've always danced the carnival. I've always had, the costumes. So it is part of personality. And I will attract people that get that. And even the owls that didn't really get the concept before, I push them and say, I know you don't like videos, but do one just as a trial. I know you never, but do one, obviously you can't just push someone to be in the top of the what is it called? The trucks, you can't, if you're going to be dancing carnival, you dance on the floor first and maybe fully covered. And maybe in 5 years, you're going to be in bikinis with a headpiece on top of the truck. So you don't get someone that has never been to carnival to be on top of the truck, in bikinis with a headpiece, right? So the transformation of sharing your knowledge is exactly the same.
And I just realized your background is actually peacock shaped. I hadn't noticed that.
Very good. It is.
Peacock. You got a peacock behind you. You're like branding in every way, even subliminally. I wanted to ask you, because you were saying you get people in front of journalists. What is that like now? Like, because we're at the time of filming, we're still in lockdown in the UK. So presumably, I would have said that getting in front of journalists at this point in time is going to be all about, the core messaging out there. How are you supporting businesses to get out there and get their message out through social media, through the regular media in this time?
Yes. Now, the key thing is that now the media is writing more than ever. And it's being clever on how you link your expertise to the COVID pandemic, right? Yeah. So everyone in the health industry now, it's just like it's your time to shine. We have so many requests in the High Profile Club platform for mental health, exercise, nutrition, because people are getting fat because they are home, and some people are getting depressed, they're suffering from anxiety. So there are all kinds of health professionals that are needed. So people who are in the health industry today, it's your time to shine. There are so many requests in the platform, and the idea is how you then show your peacock feathers to the media, linked to the pandemic. Oh, I don't want to be linked to I don't want to be linked to the coronavirus. Well, let me explain to you that's how you actually get to the media. Because the way that small business owners get featured, it's not because of their businesses, it's because of their knowledge. This is very important for small business owners and entrepreneurs to understand. You get featured because you have expertise and journalists want to know. So for personal trainers, or any coach, for example, they want to know, how can you do exercise in 20 minutes? How can you exercise your kids? So you just have to be clever that as a consequence, the name of your business gets mentioned and there is a backlink to your website. Because people ask, what is the return on PR? The return on PR is that you get mentioned in the media, they put a backlink to your website. That means helps you, the ranking of your website to go higher. All the members of High Profile Club that have been featured today, they are on the first page of Google. If you Google their names, they're going to be on the first page because of the publications that have mentioned their names. So this is how people see, how PR helps their businesses. And all the other businesses, it's finding a way to, how can I ride this wave? I always say there is always a wave. There was a wave of Brexit before. We had a client, for example, Naeem, that he's an expert in retail, and the Wall Street Journal was writing, what is going to happen to the retail industry in the UK after Brexit? Naeem, he mentioned he is an expert. This is how you ride the wave. The wave before was Brexit. The wave now is coronavirus. The wave before is going to be something else. The idea is, how do I link myself to this wave? How do I put my expertise into practice now on accountants, accountants are going to be very important. You know, can you help your small business clients restructure after the coronavirus? So then there are ways that you can share your expertise with the media if you're an accountant linking to coronavirus. And I think this is important for people to understand. Whatever is happening in the media today, whatever is news, you have to find a way to link your expertise, not your company, because your company is not going to be mentioned, because an accountancy firm is just any accountancy firm. I'm afraid to say, if they want an accountancy firm mentioned, they go to PwC. But now, if they want a small business owner mentality or knowledge, not mentality, but knowledge, they will go and talk to maybe accountants who have small business owners as clients. So that's how you get mentioned in the media. And if you're a nutritionist, you know, how can you help people then start losing weight after the lockdown? What are, you know, the types of foods that people can do in 10 minutes that will help them lose weight? So it's finding ways to be very clever with what you know, linking to what is happening today. Because the next wave of news that is going to come is the after lockdown, how we go back to normal, if there is any normal, right?
So what is the new normal?
Yeah, what is the new normal? So the new normal is that, okay, I'm not traveling anymore to have all those calls because we can do via video. Great. Okay, so if you're a tech founder, is what are you going to do to ride that wave? Okay, so have you pivoted? So there are many different ways, because then journalists will write, if you were a business owner before the coronavirus, what is your business like now? So let's talk about pivoting. Let's talk about adapting. Let's talk about, do you see what I mean? So there are so many ways. It's just being clever on how can I ride this wave with my knowledge, will get me in the media, will get a backlink to my website so I can get on the first page of Google.
I love it. And I was going to ask you so many more questions around kind of your business experience, but I feel like the amount we've got on the content has been so juicy.
No, that's good. I think it's and I love talking about this. I love getting people featured.
Right. Yeah, I think it's something that during this time is something that I've heard a lot of people say, like, this is the time to really market, when people's attention is on this thing, and okay, it can be, and when actually one has the time to create some content, which maybe we don't make the time because we're delivering, etc., keeps us kind of in the, like, let's just keep things going, let's keep things moving, and also provide that value to other people, which I think is an important part of
one tip that I give, and I think it's important, because right now is not the time to sell, right? I think if you try to sell now, everybody's kind of anxious, so don't try to sell. So what you have to try to sell is, how can I engage people? How can I can let them know this is the knowledge that I have. We all know that people will start spending again at some point, because we'll go back to normal, as people say. So when I go back to normal, then who am I going to think? So what was the accountant that I saw those videos? I have a client now, he's an accountant, and he's doing lots and lots of videos. And it's very funny how people don't understand. It goes into your subconscious. So as soon as you start seeing that person talks about, the accountant that talks about video, the accountant of video. Now I think of Shashir. If I think, okay, I need an accountant to comment on, he is the first person. So this is what people need to understand. It is the time to start sharing knowledge. It's not about pushing sales. Share your knowledge, share your expertise, let people know how you can help them, because the message, it will land. People will remember you, and this is very, very important.
And giving that value whilst you're in a position to be able to give some value. Awesome. Exactly. How can people get in contact with you, Rafael? How can people find out more about the High Profile Club?
Sure. So the website is highprofileclub.com. And if you look for High Profile Club London, we're on Facebook and all that. But High Profile Club, and we also have one thing that I'd like to add is, a content calendar is very important, okay? And we are giving away content calendars on our website. So as soon as you go to highprofileclub.com, we have a 30-day content challenge where twice a week, you receive 2 emails, and we are guiding you how to turn your expertise into content. So you're gonna get an email, and we call it the 10 to 5 content coaching program, and it's completely free for people for a month to try. So why is it called 10 to 5? Because it's 10 minutes twice a week and in five steps. And it's 10 to 5 because you could be doing 10 minutes before the end of the working day. By 5 o'clock, then you can go. And the idea is we give a content planner. So we help you learn how you plan your content. And the idea is you don't have to, every time you have to create new content. So let's say you choose a theme for the month, and it's very easy to go with the month that is happening. For example, February is all about Valentine's. All your content can be around Valentine's, right? You can do before Valentine and after Valentine. So then you don't have to think what I'm going to write now. So the idea is always start with a long blog post of at least 1,000 words. And that blog post, you will then repurpose throughout the month into different content. That blog post can be created then into 3 or 4 different posts on Instagram or LinkedIn. It can create 4 or 5 different videos of 1 minute if you break that blog post into several sections. So you can see that creating content, it's not something that is like every time you sit down you have to write a blog post of 1,000 words, right? It's repurposing, recycling, because some people will read. I, for example, don't like reading very long blog posts. I prefer videos. Some people they like reading because they like the details. Some people will watch your video only by reading the subtitles. So it's all about how you can tap into the different ways that people consume content. So either writing, reading long ones, reading short ones, just watching you speak, or even though they're watching a video, but depending on what they are, you can have the sound, you then put the subtitles there.
Awesome. Awesome. So if you are creating content and you're a business owner, well worth having a look at highprofileclub.com. Thank you again, Rafael, for joining us today. For those of you that are interested in hearing more business stories, SME stories, insights, you can subscribe below. And if you want me to see your content, then do just add NaviStar Legal into your LinkedIn or your Facebook, and we'll make sure that we check out your content. High Profile Club, I'm sure you'll be interested to see their stuff as well.
Yes, and thank you
so much. Thank you again for joining me, and we'll look forward to seeing you soon.
No problem. Thank you for inviting me, and I hope you all start creating your contents, and I want to see your videos after this challenge.